My name is Jamie Futrell, and as I was saying, I told Vanessa, we made these series of presentations at Chambers of Commerce. In every single situation, I brought a backup, projector, so that I'd make sure I'd have a projector in every place that we got to, they had a projector. So today, I just didn't bring my projector, and so as sure as I walk in the door, the first thing I notice is a screen, no projector, and crap, I left mine at the office. And so I apologize for the delay there. I have been doing what I do now, which is in radio. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I've been with Bristol Broadcasting now for 21 years. I started out as a sales rep for WKYQ and worked my way up to a sales manager, and in 2010 I became the general manager after the death of our general manager, Gary Morris. And so I've studied advertising at great extent, because the bottom line for us in what we do is that this is too small of a market for us to go in and take someone's money and not deliver on what we're supposed to do, which is get results. And so if we just take their money and we don't deliver, then what ends up happening is they don't want to come back. It would be kind of like going to Patty's and having one of the pork chops, but it's not good. You wouldn't go back. And so we really have focused a great deal on making sure that we understand our product and we understand how to get results with our product. And so as a result, I've studied a great deal of advertising. Now, what I'm going to talk to you about today is the 12 most common mistakes in advertising. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. Actually, this is written by Roy H. Williams. He wrote the 12 most common mistakes. And for any of the UK fans, I'm not talking about the Roy Williams of North Carolina coaching. I'm talking about the Roy Williams that wrote The Wizard of Ads, the New York Times best-selling book. And I have a copy with me today, and I'm going to give it away to somebody. But Roy wrote this book because what he did was, and if you read the subtitle, Turning Words into Magic and Dreamers into Millionaires, he started an advertising agency with one purpose. And that purpose was to get results for their clients. But what made it different than all the other agencies was the fact that most advertising agencies, the way they work, they get a percentage of commission on all the advertising they place. So if they place $100,000 worth of advertising, they get a certain percentage of commission, usually 15%. So that means that if they get to place $200,000 in advertising, they get more commission. So the advertising agency has a reason now to get the business owner to want to do more advertising. Roy said that's wrong. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up. We're going to get paid a salary by the business owner, and the only way that we get more is if we increase their business. But if we increase their business, they have to increase our pay by whatever percentage we increase their business. And so that's what Roy did. And he turned people like a jewelry owner in Evansville, Indiana, from a common person, as you might say, to a millionaire. And he did that for lots of folks. He started an academy in Austin, Texas called Wizard Academy. And I was very fortunate to go down and learn at the Wizard Academy in May of 2011. And I graduated from the Wizard Academy. The entire purpose of Wizard Academy, it is for small business owners to understand how to market their business. And so he is focused. He says there's plenty of help out there for the big guys, the big giant corporations. He said, I think it's the mom and pops, the small business owners that need help. And so that's me. I was there. And I graduated. And so it's a fabulous, fabulous opportunity. WizardAcademy.org. If you are interested in any of the classes, they do have some of their classes are online, but it is a trip well worth it, and I promise that you would really enjoy it. Now, with the 12 most common mistakes in advertising, there is a warning that I think is important for you all to understand. There is an example that contradicts everything you're about to see in this presentation. Nothing is true in every situation or every business. Advertising is a complexity of various ingredients. There are no magic beans. That seems to be what every business owner wants. I want the magic beans. Tell me what I have to do, that if I can just follow this exact formula, I will get rich. Well, guess what? If there was that exact formula, we'd be selling it for lots of money. So there is no magic formula, there's no magic beans, there's nothing that you can do that will guarantee you success. And there are lots of variables as to why. One would be timing. You know, the fact that Henry Ford introduced the Model T, if he introduced it today, I promise you it wouldn't be very successful. Incidentally, this just shows you how important timing is. Anybody know what almost happened to Owensboro, Kentucky? Owensboro, Kentucky, at the time when the car was invented, does anybody know what was going on in Owensboro, Kentucky? It was the capital for wagon building and carriage building in the entire United States. They built more carriages in Owensboro, Kentucky than anywhere else. So Henry Ford and several others thought, you know, the place to build our auto manufacturing facilities will be in Owensboro, because if you'll remember, the early cars had wooden carriages. But guess what? Owensboro didn't want that, because they saw the cars as competition. And so they passed laws and taxes and stuff to keep the car manufacturers out, and as a result they went up to Detroit. So timing is everything, and you have no idea what factors are influencing your business. How many competitors do you have? What are your competitors like? All of those things are factors on your business. Are you executing your plan? If you may have a great message in your advertising, it's a wonderful message, but you don't execute. For example, if Patty's talked about having the best pork chop, but you went in there and this time it was great, but next time it wasn't so good, and the next time it was okay, and the next time it was terrible, that's inconsistency. It affects everything that you do, and that means it affects your advertising. One of the reasons that McDonald's is so successful is because they have a system, and every franchisee has to follow the system. Why do you stop at McDonald's? You don't stop at McDonald's when you're on the road because it's the best. You stop at McDonald's because it is consistent. May not be the best, but you know exactly what you will get. The French fries are going to taste the same in Knoxville, Tennessee, as they will in Paducah, Kentucky, as they will in Kansas City, Kansas. And so that is what you're looking for. All of those things are a factor in your advertising. So as a result, it's really hard to predict exactly what will happen to anyone in advertising. And it's also hard to know what's going to work for you. Okay? With that being said, let's get started with number one. Number one is the desire for instant gratification. The desire for instant gratification. Seth Godin says that this is what every business owner should be going after, is instant gratification. Wanting you to have results and getting results now. Running ads that you can measure and get results from. But there's a problem with this, because all ads have to fall into two categories. Either category number one, they build top-of-mind awareness. Let me give you an example of building top-of-mind awareness. Would be an ad that talked about, for example, with Patty's, they talked about how great the pork chop was, how fabulous the pork chop is, how it is an award-winning, it's been recognized nationwide. It's been written up in magazines. All those would be to build top-of-mind awareness. The other is to solicit immediate response. There's a national retailer that did a lot of these. Some of you ladies may have shopped there at some point or another. It's called J.C. Penney. They had to revamp their entire marketing approach because the sale of the century every single weekend had stopped working. Can you imagine? When we heard the sale of the century going on now at J.C. Penney for the third weekend in a row that month, we didn't believe it. And the reason why is because they are trying to solicit immediate response. Now here's the problem with solicit immediate response versus top-of-mind awareness. When you go to solicit immediate response, the way to get results is you have to make an offer. 50% off this weekend. But that's not enough. You have to put some kind of expiration on your offer, or else they'll assume 50% off when? Just come in anytime? So, no, 50% off 3 days only. So now, guess what happens? Anybody have any idea how many advertisements you're exposed to every day? Every day. Anybody got any? Who wants to take a guess? Wild guess. How many?
200.
200. Who else? Who else? 200? 5,000 advertisements every day. That goes from being exposed to television, radio, newspaper, billboard, but that also counts in those wrappers on your candy, the pens, all of that is some form of advertisement. And you're exposed to about 5,000 of those every single day. Okay? Now, at night, God gave us this wonderful thing called sleep. And it is the eraser of all advertising. And so what happens is we have to get exposed to something over and over and over again in order for us to retain it. And I'll give you an example of a few things like that here in just a few minutes, but once we retain that, man, it gets locked in up there, but it's really hard to get it up there, okay? Now, here's the challenge. The challenge is that if we go for advertising that solicits immediate response, guess what happens in the brain? Your brain immediately makes a mental note, this information expires Monday, or this information expires tomorrow. And as a result, it makes extra effort for you not to retain the information. To me, the brain is the most complex thing and the most obvious thing that there is a God and somebody's in charge because of the fact of its complexity. So with that being said, solicit immediate response, guess what? It's a lot easier to measure your ads when you go for solicit immediate response. But it also means that they don't build on one another. And I'll show you some examples of ads that build on one another and as a result build top-of-mind awareness for your company and as a result change the value of your company. All of you know, if you own a company, you know that there's something called goodwill. It's whenever you get ready to sell your business, it's what your business is worth beyond the equipment and the property that you own. And that's what you want to be worth a lot. And the way you build that up is that you have top-of-mind awareness in the minds of lots of individuals. About 6 or 7 years ago, a company that a lot of us in this room have heard of filed bankruptcy called Fruit of the Loom. But they were still worth something because the name was still worth something. And so that's what you're looking at. And that's what you have the opportunity to build. Number 2, attempting to reach more people than the budget will allow. This is a huge error that I see lots of business owners make. They get all caught up in wanting to take advantage of whatever it is. Either they want to be where everybody else is, or they want this because this worked for somebody else, and they don't understand that reaching 10% of the people and convincing them 100% of the way is much better than reaching 100% of the people, but only convincing them 10% of the way. And that's what happens. Advertising takes time and exposure, and you have to be exposed to a message multiple times. And when you get exposed to that message often enough, then you end up remembering 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions, on a sesame seed bun. What is it? What is it?
Big Mac.
It's a Big Mac. How did you know that? And some of you are even singing the jingle in your head right now. To all beef patties. And why? Because you picked it up and you decided, you walked into McDonald's one day and said, hey, I would like to memorize the ingredients for the Big Mac. No, because you got exposed to it multiple times. And so with that, one of the things you want to remember is you want to make sure that you carve out your market and you go after them and you convince them 100% of the time. One of the things that I tell advertisers all the time is that sometimes when we have somebody that runs a lot on a certain station, they'll say, hey, I'm having some of the listeners are coming in and complaining about hearing my ad too often. Okay? That's a good thing. They're coming in and complaining about it. Okay? And so that's what ends up happening when you get exposure over and over again. Number 3, assuming the business owner knows best. Woo! I could offend somebody in here with this one, but this is really true. It is hard to read the label when you're inside the bottle. We all need a different paradigm shift. We all need somebody else that sees things. The reality is, whatever business you're in, you know far more about that business than 99.9% of your customers. But we all tend to assume that everybody that we want as potential customers knows almost as much about our business as we do. And the reality is, they don't. And so that all affects the way you perceive your company and the way you position your company and the way that you project your company. And so it's really important to have someone else give you an outside perspective. Let me give you a great example of that in the form of an advertisement. We had a gentleman that brought in a group called the Church Basement Ladies to the Carson Center. As a result, the Church Basement Ladies had a radio ad, and they sent us this radio ad.
And out of the church basement shall come a musical comedy of good tidings, great humor, and joy.
That's right. Those lovable Church Basement Ladies are serving it up again. And this time around, it's an all-new holiday musical, Away in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas. It's 1959, in the morning of the Sunday School Christmas program. Always charming and hysterical, those lovely ladies of the church kitchen once again save the day. Away in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas is a lovingly funny, heartfelt tribute to those women who keep things humming from the church kitchen. Don't miss Away in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas this holiday season.
The Church Basement Ladies are coming to the Carson Center in Paducah. Come enjoy the musical comedy that will have you laughing until your side dish.
On our radio
Away
station.
in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas coming November 12th.
In excess of $4,000 advertising this show. Sold a grand total in 2 weeks of 25 tickets. Okay? He was not happy at all. He was very upset, and he called. And of course, the first thing that everybody wants to do is say, it's your fault, it's the radio station's fault, it's the radio station's fault, it's your fault. And I try to remind people that there's 2 things that are really important to remember. First of all, marketing expert Dave Gifford says there's only 2 things that work in advertising today. What you say, times how many times you say it. what you say times how many times you say it. What you say times how many times you say it. That's it. Now, I went back and I listened to the commercial. I said, that's a terrible commercial. It's terrible. I called the promoter. The promoter called Church Basement Ladies. They said, this is the ad that we run on radio stations nationwide. And they said, we said, well, how does it do for you? And they said, we told you we've never gotten good results from radio. Well, I said, it's because of the commercial. I try to tell this to people all the time. We get results every day for people, but it matters what you say. So we put together our own ad, and here's the ad we ran.
The hit musical comedy that has been selling out theaters all over the country is coming to Paducah.
Live from the church basement, it's Pastor and the Kitchenettes. Take it, Pastor.
Away in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas is coming Monday, November 12th to the Carson Center. If you remember going to the church pot lot, you'll laugh till your sides hurt when you find out the things those church ladies talked about.
Unforgettable Christmas program of 1958.
Tickets on sale now. Group orders are welcome. For ticket information, call 270-450-4444 or visit thecarsoncenter.org. Away in the Basement, a Church Basement Ladies Christmas, Monday, November 12th at the Carson Center.
Seasons in full swing. You'll sleep again next spring. There's always one more thing that's left to do. Oofta. This is gonna be a long day.
Okay, you notice the addition. Several things are very different in that ad. One is we made it appeal to your emotion. Do you remember going to church potlucks? Do you remember what was those ladies talking about? We are appealing to your emotion. The first ad was appealing about facts. It all had all of these facts in it. It was 1959, blah, 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 blah. The second thing we added was we added laughter in the commercial. Now, here's the difference. First ad, $4,000, 2 weeks, 25 tickets. This ad sold 75 tickets the first day it ran. Okay? Now, here's the point that I want to make. It's that important what you say. What you say makes a difference. It's not enough that you just pound whatever it is you want to pound and assume that that'll get you results if you pound it hard enough. It matters what you say. They recently, we see that all the time. Sometimes people will say, well, this didn't do well and this did do well. Maybe it's in part because more people wanted this and fewer people wanted this. And so understand that and keep that in mind. Number 4, unsubstantiated claims. If you're going to tell somebody that you're an award-winning whatever it is, tell us what that means. I remember putting an ad together for Parker Ford that said, well, we want to tell everybody we've won a national award. We're a national award-winning dealership. What does that mean, Joe, Roland? I don't understand what that means. He said, well, we're presidential. We've received a presidential citation. What does that mean? Well, it means the president, he selects dealerships, and we had to meet these 5 different points, and we were one of the dealerships. Well, okay, how many people end up getting this? Only 5 dealers nationwide. Now we're getting somewhere. So unsubstantiated claims, saying things. Remember, you're an advertiser. And so listeners assume the same things about you that they assume about salespeople. If your lips are moving, you're probably lying. Okay? That's the reality. If you're advertising, they are assuming that whatever you're saying is overhyped. It's not really true. So when you add facts and evidence and specifics, remember, that's what got you out of the ticket, was the fact that you knew specifics. You just didn't tell the police officer, I'm in a hurry. You immediately said, well, the reason I'm in a hurry is because my wife just called 15 minutes ago, and I got to get there because my wife told me that if I'm late this time, it's over. And so I'm really in a hurry. And it was all the specifics that you gave the police officer. That was the reason that you got out of the ticket. You didn't make any unsubstantiated claims, okay? So that's a mistake in your advertising. Number 5, improper use of passive media. Now, passive media, for those of you that may not know what I'm talking about here, there are 2 forms of media. There is intrusive media and passive media. Passive media is billboards, newspapers, magazines, email, all of that, internet, all of that that requires the person that you're trying to reach with your advertising to stay focused on the message in order for you to get the message to them. In other words, somebody has to read your ad, okay? Or they could pass over it. That's why the term is assigned passive. Intrusive media, which requires sound, radio and television both have this. It intrudes. You have eyelids, you can close your eyes. You do not have earlids, you can't close your ears. So even though you may not want to hear, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world, it's plastic and it's fantastic, you end up hearing the stupid song so many times that now it's going to be stuck in your head the rest of the day.
Thanks.
I know it! And so, that is why you end up retaining. Guess what? The average American knows the words to 5,000 songs. 5,000 songs. And the reason why is because of the intrusiveness of the media, and the reality is you get exposed to it multiple times and end up retaining it. Number 6. Creating individual ads instead of campaigns. This is really big. I have so many advertisers that they want to go in one direction, and then, well, I don't think we're really getting anything from that. We need to do something else. And then they go in another direction, and then they go, well, I don't think that's working either. We need to do something else. And they head off in a completely new direction. Each time, what they don't realize they're doing is they don't realize that the mind, well, imagine it. What is your name? Adam. I'm not just talking about Adam's mind here, but imagine it as a piece of hard wood. Would that be your mind, Adam? And you got a hammer and a nail. Adam, have you ever driven a nail through a piece of wood off an old barn? Yeah, it's almost impossible. Anybody that's ever tried it, it's almost impossible. What happens? The nail keeps bending, right? Because it's very difficult to get in it. That wood is seasoned, and it's very challenging. But as a result, what most advertisers do is imagine the nail is their message, the hammer is the medium that they're using, be radio, television, newspaper, whatever, and they start with the nail. Yeah, that's not working. And they pull the nail out and they start in a new hole. Whack, whack, whack. Yeah, that's not working. Pull the nail out, start in a new hole. And that's what ends up happening over and over again. And so their ads aren't consistent. They don't build together. And so it affects everything else that they do. Let me give you an example of some ads here that build with a campaign.
And they're off. Out of the gate is dinner date. Dinner date starts strong, but here comes no reservation, followed by hours of waiting. Now idle chit-chat is making a move, but idle chit-chat is no match for awkward silence. It's idle chit-chat, it's awkward silence, and here comes table by the kitchen and snooty waiter, followed by undercooked chicken. I don't believe it. Out of nowhere comes declined credit card and utter humiliation as they come down the stretch. First base is nowhere in sight, and finally it's peck on the cheek and let's just be friends.
For a better time, go to the track. National Thoroughbred Racing. We bet you love it.
Now here's a different message, but you're going to notice it's building. There's a theme here.
And they're off. Out of the gate it's let's get together and go camping. But here comes raining and pouring. And now it's 5 guys in a 2-man tent. I don't believe it. It's nature calling. And now it looks like it's going to be number 2 in the woods. And toilet paper is nowhere in sight. But here comes hand bin full of leaves. And what's this? It's itching, followed by scratching. It's itching, it's scratching, scratching and itching. And now it's spreading, coming up from the rear. And in the end, it's the worst 3 days of your life.
For a better time, go to the track. National Thoroughbred Racing. We bet you love it.
There's a series of about 6 of these ads for the National Thoroughbred Association, Racing Association, and that builds demand for going to race. And even if you've never wanted to go to the thoroughbred track and go racing before, it causes you to go, you know what, that sounds like it would be fun, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do, okay? Now, here's another example of a campaign that's been around for a long time, and I'm sure every single person in this room has heard at least one of these ads.
Hi, Tom Bodette from Motel 6. When a deer sees headlights, he just stands there in the middle of the road. You know why? Because he's stupid. When people see the light, they stop throwing away money and go to Motel 6. You know why? Because they're smart. Be smart. Save some dough. I'm sorry. Save a buck. Oops. Anyway, call 1-800-4-MOTEL-6 and we'll leave the light on for you.
So by building your ads one on top of each other, as a result, Tom Bodette and Motel 6 that's been running the same campaign now for 30 years, there's hardly anyone who has not heard a Motel 6 ad. And so, as a result, that's because they've kept with the same campaign. Unlike some others, like McDonald's, for example, who seems to change their campaign about every 2 years when they get a new advertising agency. So you want to keep that in mind, that building your ads on top of each other will affect the results that you're going to get, okay? Now, we're halfway through the 12 most common mistakes. Let's jump right back in. Number 7, obedience to unwritten rules. Unwritten rules. Let me give you a great example of one. Who can tell me what is located at 2501 Kentucky Avenue in Paducah? Anyone? Nobody. I'm going to guess that 90%, probably, 90% of you have been here before because it's Western Baptist Hospital. That's what's located at 2501 Kentucky Avenue. Now I show you that because of this. And that is that so many advertisers want to do these, follow these unwritten rules, and the unwritten rules are, I gotta have my address in the ad, that's gotta be in there, y'all left my address off. I mean, golly, nobody gonna know where I am. Why'd you leave my address off? Well, the reality is, if we had said 2501 Kentucky Avenue, I just took a sample here, you didn't even know where it was. One group I asked where I believe it's 6101 Hinkleville Road. I said, I guarantee every woman in this room's been in there. Then that gave it away. Kentucky Oaks Mall. I said, okay, that's it. But the reality is we don't know addresses. We know what? Landmarks. And so what we end up doing is we want to have these unwritten rules because we think that our ad has to sound like what? An ad. It's got to sound like an ad. You didn't have my phone number in there and you didn't have my address. You don't tell anybody what hours we're open. You got to say Monday through Sunday, and then we're closed on Saturdays afternoon, and then we open on most days, but sometimes we're closed on Monday, and then holidays we're always closed. I mean, see, all of that stuff, you don't need all that in there. You're just making things more confusing. So stop feeling like your ads have to look and sound like ads. There's no obedience. The thing that you need to remember is you've got a message to get across. Get your message across. Don't let the other things get in the way. All right, number 8. Ignoring timing. Ignoring timing. Advertisers tell the customer why and wait for when. Just tell them why and wait for when. So many advertisers they think that, you know, it's all about, if I will just get the message out there, that the listeners will respond, the readers will respond. You can't ignore the timing. And if you do, you end up paying the price. Number 9, over-targeting. So many people think that it's, well, what we're looking for is we're looking for a white female, age 24 years old, that is looking to get pregnant in the next 9 months. That's our typical buyer. That's what we're reaching. Okay, nobody else comes in your store? Well, yeah, because I'm looking around right now and I don't see any 24-year-old women in here. Okay? And, oh, well, I mean, this is our target. Those others are just on the wayside. Well, over-targeting, there are very few businesses that really need to focus on this very small target. And so, over-targeting is a big problem because they've heard somebody else say, well, we target our customers. And so they're, oh, that's what we need to do, target our customers. And that is true. You do want to understand who your customer is, but don't get caught in the trap of over-targeting, okay? You want to remember who they are, who your customer is, and how to talk to that customer, but just don't over-target. Number 10, event-driven marketing. Event-driven marketing. You can have the big sale, but just remember, the big sale, they're not going to build top-of-mind awareness. You can do other events. Have all these events that build goodwill. And I'm not trying to attack anybody that's ever done something for St. Jude's, but, I mean, understand that you have a totally different purpose in mind when you're doing an event-driven marketing. It does not end up helping you in building your top-of-mind awareness as would your message. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. There is a place and a purpose for all of it, but you just want to keep it in proper perspective. Number 11, great production without great copy. I should have brought the ad. I don't have, there's a lot of wonderful ads that are great examples of great production without great copy. One of them that you all may recall, how many of you remember the ad where G.I. Joe is in a Mustang convertible? He's riding in a Mustang convertible. He swerves up in front of Barbie's house. Barbie comes down the elevator, jumps in the Mustang with G.I. Joe, leaves Ken with a sweater wrapped around his neck, standing on the balcony with a sad face on, and G.I. Joe and G.I. Joe and Barbie take off, and I said a Mustang is actually a Nissan 280Z, okay? And anybody remember that ad? Okay, no. That ad won tons of awards for Nissan. It was a huge ad. It was very successful. Nissan won all of these awards for the ad, but guess what? Nissan sales for the specific car it was advertising actually dropped. Because just like me, when I said the Mustang, people could not remember the product that it was advertising. It was a great ad. It was very entertaining, but they could not remember the product. Now that's a great example of one of the things that ends up happening with TV is guess where Hollywood gets its producers for the movies, the directors for the movies. They get them from the commercial industry. So all of those guys gals that are building commercials for television are wanting to be future movie directors. And so that's what ends up happening, and sometimes the message gets totally lost, and it's a great example of great production without great copy. Number 12, confusing response with results. Adam runs an ad, and Adam runs this ad, and in the ad, Adam, do you have children, Adam? How many? Two. Boy, girl? One of each. So in the ad, Adam puts his son and his daughter in the ad, and Adam is waving and he says, hello folks, come see us in the ad. And what happens to Adam? Everybody at church says, Adam, saw your ad on TV. That's pretty good. Your kids are so cute. Oh, they're just darling. They're darling. Bless their heart. Okay, that's what ends up happening. And Adam says, you know, that's some pretty good advertising. That is confusing response with results. What should Adam be looking at? What ends up driving traffic in the store? Did he gain any new customers? Because guess what? All those bless your heart, Adam, people at church, they already knew Adam was in business. And they already knew he was there. And either they're doing business with him or not. And if it's not, Adam, you need to figure that out. Why? But if they are, then seeing that ad's not going to cause them to come in and do more business. You need to reach new customers and build a top-of-mind awareness with new customers. And that's why you got to make sure you're focused on getting results rather than just getting a response. All right, I went through this a little faster than what I normally do, but I wanted to make sure I got you out on time, and I know we're still late. I apologize for that, and I do appreciate you staying. My name is Jamie Futrell. I am on Facebook and on LinkedIn, and so if you would like to connect with me there, I'd be glad for you to do so. And I'd be glad to answer any questions that anyone has at this time. And thank you all very much for allowing me this time and allowing me the opportunity to come speak to you.